Okay, on the theme of dads training up their children the way they should go, the main theme of my podcast is usually on ethics and theology and spirituality, but sometimes we can be so spiritually minded that we're of no earthly good as Christian dads, because catechism is so important, developing a prayer life is so important, coaching our kids towards a good spouse is so important. Hopefully, those things are the most important in the way we coach and train and talk to our kids. But there needs to also come a economic aspect, and unfortunately, the world has it switched over completely, where the secularist world that may or may not attend church, but they don't really follow Christ as a lifestyle, they only talk to their kids about jobs. And so we need to Christian dads need to make sure we do it. Now, I think I'm in 175 entries now in my biblical economics. Whatever I'm at right now, it's pretty high, but um, a lot of those early entries were about stock trading and investing, and honestly, I think that was just a huge distraction. I was even tempted to delete my investment section off of my biblical economics manuscript, but I think it's still necessary with proper cautions, because anybody who studies personal finance in depth is going to get pulled into that vortex of deception called the world of investing. And so it's helpful to have somebody who believes in the Bible to write out and think it out for you so you can help to navigate the thing yourself. Not necessarily to agree with me on everything, but to help you navigate it. This is a dizzying world of Willy Wonka is what that thing is. But after you've gotten through it and you realize, I don't like to invest, I just want to work and save. That's where I'm at right now. And then you realize you have to train your kids to take care of themselves financially in an extremely complicated economy, by the way. Um, we are an extremely complicated economy. If you were to get the book called The Occupational Outlook Handbook by Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, you'll see how complicated this economy is. I'd imagine that our economy is probably, in terms of job titles, is probably more diversified and more complex than the Roman Empire times 25. I mean, we are like, I would have to imagine, like, in terms of job titles, we might very well be the most complicated economy in history, in terms of variety of job categories. And so, as a Christian dad, it becomes kind of hard to create a theology of that, because the Bible was written in the ancient world. It wasn't written in this complicated economy that we have. And so we can apply general rules of biblical ethics to this complicated economy we have and try to find our way through it and trust God's providence along the way. But if we if we generally adhere to certain rules, like the book of Proverbs, read the book of Proverbs, you'll understand what God wills for your economic life. And generally, the goal is, you have to set goals with this sort of thing. You can't have everything perfect all the time. That's one of the things we have to wrap our head around. Things are not always going to be perfect. Changes happen, economies go through depressions. And I think if you were to really even look through the Bible, you could find evidence of depressions and recessions in the Bible. Um, that book of Genesis comes to my mind. The famine, the 7-year famine. That's a depression, right? That's why Joseph was raised up with the granaries in Egypt. So depressions do exist in the Bible. Depressions, economic recessions do exist in the Bible, and it's nothing new. It existed in the ancient world. It exists in modern America. It exists. So with that being said, what happens when depressions and economic recessions happen is that your job titles get messed up. That's what happens. Layoffs, unemployment, job title changes, and you can't get suicidal and crazy just because your job title's messed up. It's such a simple thing. Think about it. It's such a simple thing. People make such an idol out of this. Oh, my career, my career. Where's career in the Word of God? Oh, I've got this career. That's an idol. That's an idol that trusts in a career and does not trust in God and his providence. It's an idol that assumes that there is no financial risk in the world that we live in. And it's also absolute foolishness. It'd be fine for most people to coach their kids to be middle class. It'd be fine for most people to coach their kids to go to a Christian university like Bob Jones University. It'd be fine for most people to coach their kids against state universities and against evolutionary indoctrination. It'd be fine for most Christian parents to coach their kids to go to a local community college and get a 2-year associate's or a certification. It'd be fine for most people to coach their kids to do all of these things, to try to work at home and to try to decrease stress in their lives. Maybe they could become an environmental economist, or a decorating worker, or an actuary, or a Google Ads campaign's search marketing SEO specialist, or a computer systems analyst, or a computer programmer. Maybe they could become an industrial designer. Maybe they could become a research analyst, operations research analyst, a biostatistician, an economist, a statistician, a dietitian, a geneticist, although there's going to be evolution in that. They could maybe try being a cost estimator, a financial examiner, a human resource assistant, a computer network architect, a media programming director, an exercise trainer, although I can't imagine that that would be very modest as an occupation. How about a software quality assurance analyst? That's not a person who programs, that's a person who tests whether the software is quality. A paralegal, watch out for divorce law, family law. Loan officers, tutors, if you're a math buff, that you could work from home. Varsity tutors, you can work from home doing that, although the opportunities for it are very limited. You could become a web administrator. A lot of these things do not require you to work outside the home, but they do require you to get 4-year degrees for them. So what if you don't have one? What if you don't have a 4-year degree? Well, there's less opportunities for low-stress jobs, but they still exist. You can go to flexjobs.com, and if you really push long enough, you might be able to get something as an insurance appraiser, an insurance claims adjuster, a secretary administrative assistant, a telemarketer like myself. There's 3 main job titles for that: business development representative, sales development representative, inside sales development representative. Then they've got other titles like contact center agent, call center, things like that. There's the customer service representative. It's a little bit harder because you have to make sure your phone calls are perfect 100% or they fire you. That's tough. Girls like photography. Girls oftentimes start photography businesses. Girls, that's a really great thing for girls to do, but that's a side hustle. Now, let's say you can't find anything working from home, and you want to direct your kids towards low stress minimum wage employment. Low stress minimum wage employment. Now, why is it important to coach on that? Because not everything's perfect. I was told when I was a kid, you can be anything you want to be. You could be an astronaut. You're going to be an astronaut when you grow up. And so why do we think like this? Why do we talk to our kids about it? We fill our heads with these astronomical things that we know that they're not going to be able to do 9 times out of 10. And then they experience something low end like working at McDonald's, and it's high stress and it's depressing, and we didn't coach them at all on it. I would coach a kid against being a cashier. I would coach a kid against being in any form of fast food or food service. any sort of restaurant or food service waitress or waiter, anything like that, because I've been there, I've done that. It's extremely stressful. It's extremely there are a lot of sexual harassment. So if you've got girls, I would just stay away from that. Now, I'm not saying all cashier jobs are stressful, but I'm saying um, most of them are, and I would just stay away from it. Stay away from retail, stay away from fast food, stay away from restaurants, stay away from waiters and waitresses. If you've got nothing else, you've got nothing else. But I would just advise against it, and I would say don't tell your kids to do that. Instead, I would say, look, if the options are limited, I would say if you've got a son, say be a security guard until you find something better, especially a night guard if you can keep yourself awake, because man, that's low stress. There's no people that you're interacting with as a night guard. Be a librarian assistant. That's a really low stress job where you're just kind of walking around the library putting books back. If you work in a bookstore, again, that's kind of a cashier job, but it's a bookstore. It's not like you're working, in a place where people are constantly buying groceries all the time and it's just one transaction after another. That can become really stressful. So bookstores, working on a golf course can be very low stress. Being a gardener, working for a gardener, that can be low stress. Park admissions associate. A park admissions associate, local state park might have a shed. And you have to sit in that and collect payments as the cars go through. That's a low stress job. There's a cashier there, but it's low stress. It's not like fast food or anything. Being a janitor or a housekeeper, that's a low stress job. Oftentimes you're working by yourself in each individual mobile home room or hotel room. Being a dog walker, now that's more of a care.com sort of a thing where you have a business on the side, kind of like being a photographer. So if I was to say, hey, if you've got a daughter, they want to have a side hustle as a photographer, a side hustle as a dog walker, just don't, say, hey, don't walk huge dogs like big old meaty dogs like German Shepherds. Walk tiny little toy dogs or something, A skate park monitor. Skate park. You got a skate park nearby. Tell your kids, hey, you can be a skate park monitor. Make sure the kids are, not doing dangerous stuff. You just sit there all day reading books. So there's low wage jobs that are easy to get, that are low stress. You shouldn't always have to think, oh, if you can't find anything, just go and work at McDonald's. Oh, if you can't find anything, just go work at a cash register. No, you see, that's bad. That's bad as a foundation. You should have every stage of the pyramid of economics should be low stress, I think. And that agrees with John Wesley, and that agrees with John Comenius. They both taught that if money can be made, the same amount of money can be made in a safer, healthier way, then go with the safer and healthier way. Because it's not worth sacrificing your health, whether physically or mentally, for an equivalent amount of money that could be gotten in an easier, low-stress manner. So, on the one hand, you have a security guard job. On the other hand, you have a fast food cash register job. Which is better? The security guard job, because there's practically no danger. You're making the same amount of money. It's low stress. It's not going to rack your brain and your mind, and you're not going to have panic and anxiety attacks. All right. Janitorial housekeeping job at a hotel versus being a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant, which is better? The janitor housekeeping job at the hotel is better because it's low stress. It's the same amount of money. It's a no-brainer. So when we compare minimum wage jobs with one another, we should be comparing them not on basis of how much we're getting paid, because it's neither here nor there at that point. We should be comparing them based on how much stress the job produces or how much stress it doesn't produce. And that's how you can figure that out. Now, that's not something you want to make the main thing you coach your kids about. But we also need to understand that in economic life, like sports, there is the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. It just is reality. Look at the stock market. It's up, it's down. We have recessions, blah, 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 blah. So it's absolute foolishness to only coach your kids to get a 4-year degree type job. Yeah, and then when they get that degree, and then they find out that the job competition is so thick with the applicants and they can't get the thing, what are they going to fall back on? Moving into the basement with mom and dad is not the answer. that happened on mass scale with our millennial generation in 2007. That's not the answer, because all the parents were coaching their kids, get that 4-year degree, get that perfect degree job, as if everything's perfect. Not everything's perfect. We have to have fallback plans. We can't just be like, oh, just get a cash register job and get totally sexually harassed and everybody will good game you. And you know what happened to me the other day? I was working at Family Dollar at the cash register, and this fat white guy came up to me and said, "It's all right, baby. Just put that in the bag." What a pervert. What a pervert. So, do you want your kids to go through that? Or do you want to be able to say to them, look, I've made some mistakes in my life. I want you to learn from my mistakes. There's a better way. There's a way that seems right to a man, but it's not always right. And we have to learn how to course correct when things don't work out in the way we thought they would. God bless out there. This is John with WesleyGospel.com.